sub-3 marathon a little over a year after I actually started running. I'm going to talk through how I actually did it. So welcome to Sunday 28th of May, I'm starting a little easy / recovery run today. Really want to get into the gym this year. I've neglected it last few years. Well, I'll say last few years, I've been doing running a year, but so really trying to work on the gym this year, get it regular, little and often. So I was in there last night and I feel it this morning. The DOMS is unreal, probably worse than it was after the half marathon last weekend. So yeah, it's a little recovery run, nice and easy. Legs are sore, my glutes are on fire. But yeah, this week's all been about base building really, all easy stuff. Keeping the heart rate really low, really slow pace. Start sessions next week, but still base building for another week or so. And then we'll look at getting into the more meaty stuff. We'll look at doing like a 10k block. I like doing a 10k block before my marathon specific block. So I mentioned my plan there, and there's a 12k in it today. So the bulk of this video, which will be after this, is a review of my training for Manchester. I'll go through how I've done it, my mileage, my best sessions, my big sessions, key sessions, hopefully for comparison if you've run a sub-3 or you're aiming to run a sub-3, and hopefully it's helpful. And it'll be a good way to look back and reflect for me as I look to build for Berlin. So yeah, that'll be the bulk of this after this run. So how did I go from this and this to this and this? Well, firstly, I started running a lot of mileage. I try and average around about 80 kilometers a week, just on a normal week without even training for anything. And then when we get into real peak marathon mileage, I'm looking at sort of like upwards of 100k and onwards. So my peak mileage for Manchester was 105, which is the same for London. For Berlin in autumn, I'm planning on that being 132k. So you can see where mileage really does make a difference when you come into run marathons. I genuinely believe that if you can run a lot of mileage, it's only going to make more benefit to your running speed and running race time. You look at, elite athletes, there's a reason why a lot of them do a lot of mileage. I mean, we're not elite athletes, we're not, anywhere near, even though sub-3 runners of us, we're not anywhere near the paces they can run. But it does go to show that the mileage is obviously a big thing, because that's why they're doing it. I have yet to see a marathon runner that can run a very quick time off less than 100 miles a week. Time on feet, and building up fitness that way. And this is not to say that of those 160 kilometers or 100 kilometers or whatever you have to do, that they're all hard runs. I run the majority of my runs like 5:15 per kilometer or slower. That's over a minute off my marathon time. And I do this for one reason. I was quite lucky and I realized it quite quick, that is when you are on an easy run, keep it so easy. I spoke about that on my run this morning. It doesn't need to be fast. You're not racing. You're not going to get anything else out of running an easy run at 5 minutes per kilometre, 6 minutes per kilometre, or 7 minutes per kilometre. As long as you're working in zones 1 and 2, you're getting the same adaptation. So my zone 2 starts at 125 and it finishes at 160 because I work off my lactic threshold. It would be silly of me to run around at 155 to 160 because I'm just not getting any benefit, as opposed to running from 125 to 135, which is where I try and get all my easy runs. Consistency is such a key part for marathon training, particularly when you get into these faster paces. That is the only reason I have been able to run a sub-3 marathon, consistency. I have a training log, and I'm just looking at my screen here to get it up. But I have a training log that I keep, and I'll put a little snippet off on the screen, and that has every single run that I have ever done in, well, since I started running in January. I tried to start running in 2019, and I run a local race called Ellesmere 10k, and I finished in 48 minutes and a couple of seconds. I can't remember how many. I'll put a few pictures up of what I looked like on the day, and I was wearing like £20 trail running trainers from Sports Direct that weren't fit for purpose. They didn't really have any right being on my feet in a road race. But my one big sort of takeaway from the last 2 marathon training blocks I've done is the consistency to get out the door at least 6 days a week and to run to what it says on your plan. Don't change the plan. If the plan says you're running easy on a Tuesday, run easy on a Tuesday, unless you have to swap it for something else. So don't add more intensity into a week without taking it away somewhere else, if that makes sense. So my marathon weeks look like rest day Monday, Tuesday is my speed day, so my short distances, my intensive day, so it'll be repeats of less than a kilometre. Generally like 3-minute intervals at like 3:30 per k usually are quite good for me. Wednesday is an easy day, like a genuine easy day, sometimes a recovery day depending on how hard the session was the day before. Thursday is my extensive day, so my speed day at longer distances. So I will do sort of like tempo runs of 10k and above with sort of like, a couple of k warm up, a couple of k cool down, and then like a 5 to 8k, maybe 10k block in the middle at tempo or threshold heart rate. Friday and Saturday, generally easy days. And then Sunday is an easy day, and Sunday is my long run, which usually has elements of marathon pace in there. One big sort of tip I would give to anyone, I used this for Manchester and it really helped me, was if you're training for a sub-3 marathon, that is 4:16 per kilometre pace. I apologise for the train that's going past, you might be able to hear it. That is 4:16 per kilometre pace. Don't train your marathon pace at 4:16 pace, because that is based on you running 42.2 kilometres on your watch, and you never run 42.2 based on their GPS. You'll always run a little bit more. Now, don't get me wrong, you probably very rarely run the exact course. Even like Kipchoge and the likes of the people that are at the elites that are winning races probably run slightly over. They probably run 42.3 just because they can't always take the shortest route. And let's be honest, we looked at that from the Larne half marathon last year. Even elite races don't get the distances bang on. So for London, I run 42.8 according to my watch, and my average pace was 4:14, which meant I missed out because the extra 600 metres was sort of, over 2 minutes. So if I run 42.2, I would have had a 2:58, but that didn't happen because I ran 42.8 according to my watch on the course of 42.2, if that makes sense. So I would say that I changed this for Manchester, and I knew that I needed quicker than that, so I took 6 seconds off what I needed for sub-3, so I aimed for a 4:10 pace. And I aimed for a 4:10 pace knowing that if I ran 4:10 and I ran 42.2, I would get home in about a 2:56. I could be wrong on the maths, I'll put it up here somewhere. I would get home in 2:56, but then my goal pace was 4:10, but I trained for a 4:05. So a lot of my marathon blocks, which I'll put on screen now in my marathon runs, I was doing 4:05 for them sessions. And that was because when I come to marathon day, I want to be on fresh legs, knowing that I've run faster on tired legs. I really can't explain that enough. That really helped me. And then practicing in those long runs, everyone says it and it's boring, but your nutrition, your kit, your shoes. Nutrition's a big one, so I have all my nutrition in a little box near my desk. I take these SIS Beta Fuel chews. I take 4 of them half an hour before the race with some paracetamol and some water, just purely just to top up any glycogen stores that I obviously depleted the morning of the day. I love these gels, the Torque gels. I love the lemon drizzle, raspberry ripple flavour. They're my 2 favourite flavours. And I take the Precision Fuel carb gel. The reason I don't take the Precision Fuel normal gel is the Torque ones have electrolytes in, whereas this one doesn't. And being someone that suffers with cramp, I want to get as much sodium in as I can, and they have quite a bit of sodium. Yeah, so there are obviously some key workouts that I done in the training plan that I think really helped me sort of get to a fitness where I was capable of doing sub 3, and also confident, because I think confidence is a massive thing. If you don't believe you're going to run sub 3, you won't. It's simple as that. If you're stood on that start line and you don't believe you can do it, I don't think you will. It's purely mental. That's why I genuinely believe right now that I could go sub 2:45 in Berlin in September. I genuinely believe that now. If I get 3 weeks out and I don't believe it, I won't go for it. Same as the Great Manchester Run the other week. I thought I might have been able to go 120, but I didn't believe it. So I aimed for 125, knowing that I'd probably end up somewhere in the middle. And that's what happened. So the first run, I'll put up on the screen now. It's an over-under session. So the way that works is obviously you run slightly over your goal, slightly slower than your goal pace, over, and then slightly under or quicker than your goal pace. I'd done this in a 29k run. This was the first long run of my marathon block, so it was like a really tough session to start with. I'd done 16k at steady pace, which is like 440 to 420 for me, which is sort of like 10 to 20 seconds more than what my goal marathon pace was. And then I'd done straight into an 11k that was significantly quicker. So my goal pace for Manchester was 4:10. I ran this mostly, I'm just looking at the screen now to read, but I run this mostly high 350s, 357, 358, 359, 355, sort of paces like that. And I started slowing down towards the end of the 11k to sort of what my goal pace was, which was 4:10. But that was a key session for me, because I knew at that point, after just coming off an injury and doing a 10k block, that I was capable of doing that. I could run that pace for a decent amount of time, and that was a big sort of confidence boost. Another key session that I do, again, this is tweaked from Ben Parks' plan. It's easy 5k as a warm-up, and then it's marathon pace 5k with a float of steady for 5k. So it's literally just 5k, 5k, 5k. Easy 5k, marathon pace 5k, a steady 5k, marathon pace 5k, steady 5k, marathon pace 5k, and then you're done pretty much. I think that's right. I'll just check. 5k. Yeah, so I've just checked. It's 3 blocks of marathon pace with basically a float in between, and then you finish on a 5k float for a total of 35 kilometers in the run. That's a really good run, because I think particularly the steady elements, you're not slowing down to the point where your heart rate gets to go back down to easy and like just cruising along. So by going just down to steady, it keeps you in that point of the lactate doesn't get a chance to sort of escape from your legs if you're building any up. So I wouldn't say you do, but you closely resemble what it feels like on race day, that fatigue of getting your legs tired without actually racing 35k at marathon pace. I love that session. I loved it last year. I think it's a very good run. And then finally, my longest run, which I love. It's my favourite sort of run on the plan. It's the last sort of really long one that I've done. It's 13k easy, 13k at marathon pace, 13k at marathon pace, and then 11k easy. And for this, the 13k that is marathon pace, you're aiming for just under. Lastly, I think what has been such a big reason why I've managed to get so fast, so quick, from only running since January 2022 to, targeting a sub 2:45 in Berlin is the consistency and the gradual building of distance. I haven't just got to like 50k and stayed. I've pushed up to that 100k, and I genuinely, like I said earlier, I genuinely believe that mileage does help. Again, it's not going to work for everyone, but I found it's worked for me. I know other people that have said that mileage is such a big thing. The elites run such a large distance. There's a reason for that. If it didn't work, they wouldn't do it. And ultimately, they're getting coaches that'll tell them what to do. I don't have a coach, I'm self-coached. I look at training plans online. But ultimately, their coaches are making them run big distances. So it clearly has an impact on the training stimulus. But that's it. If you've got any questions, or you'd like to speak to me about my sub 3, you'd like any questions, if you've got any ideas of what you'd like to see, whether you'd like to see my training block in more detail, let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. If you've made it to the end, I really appreciate it. See you later.